Welcome back everybody to the Joe One Show. I'm your host, Joe One. For today's video here, we're finally back with another podcast episode here. And I've been doing a bunch of other off-series stuff here, but we are back here. And this is a good week because football is back. The NFL, of course, the first game starts tomorrow. Of course, Kansas City versus Detroit in KC. And there's a lot of questions on that game, and I think we're going to get into it right now here. We have some more breaking news, of course, on the Nick Bosa front, which we are going to get to very soon here. But first off here, the big story of yesterday and today here, Travis Kelce. Hyperextending his knee allegedly in practice and is now questionable to be playing tomorrow night. As of right now, he was listed on questionable on today's injury report for the Kansas City Chiefs. So there is definitely a chance he does play now. So that's a lot more positive than what we thought coming into it, as it, hyperflex knee. I've been talking to my friends here who are, they study, of course, physical therapy and stuff like that, specifically in sports. And it can be an injury that can be a little minus a couple weeks, or even just a week or two, a couple days, or it can be something massive. At least that's what I've heard from people that I know who, they're a little more knowledgeable about like injury and stuff than I am. But talking to them, that's what I kind of was getting here. So the sound of honestly here is it's not as serious. So you got Kelce in the fantasy leagues. Not probably the best for this week to have him, but you'll probably be fine. It looks like now. So I take a deep breath and just thank God that he's gonna be there most likely for you guys. But definitely, this of course does have a massive impact on the game here in general. Is just due to the fact that Kelce is what he is to the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And that, of course, we all know is the primary weapon of Patrick Mahomes himself, the best quarterback in the NFL. He is clearly always the main target on that point for Travis Kelce. Mahomes, whenever he's looking to throw, he's going to always try to go to Kelce first. Like, we just know that to this point. And he really just can't stop it. Whenever they're two in sync, they're pretty much unstoppable. But now, definitely think if you're Detroit, you're definitely very happy about this if he does not play. It makes it a lot easier for you, to go into Arrowhead and beat the defending champ Chiefs here, as, of course, going in Arrowhead is a very tough task, and it's pretty hard to do. But definitely, I think the Detroit Lions, honestly, just talking on them for a sec, they are a lot better team this year. I think this is fine. Like, the first time that I can actually think of it, the Detroit Lions, actually seem to be a good team. And I think the guys in charge there, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, have really built a spectacular team out of nothing. As we all know, Matt Patricia was one of the biggest jokes in all the NFL, and his whole alliance imitating the Patriots, like a couple other teams who actually are still doing it. But you know how that whole trend of let's just copy the Patriots. They did. How it worked. Obviously, left Detroit in a disaster that both Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes have worked hard and actually have gotten them out of it to a point where it's actually, a respectable franchise. And there's a lot of expectations for Detroit. And I feel like personally, I'm very excited to see this Detroit team. I think offensively, they got some great weapons. Amon-Ra St. Brown, spectacular wide receiver, has had a great showing last year, and I think it continues. I think they have a spectacular offensive line. Penei Sewell at the tackle spot, he has been pretty much locked down. Frank Ragnow at center, another great guy as well. And there's many more on the offensive line. I'm not going to name out every single one of them, but a lot of great guys who are total studs go out there and they block very well. And honestly, I think they have a very spectacular offense in general. And of course, the main guy in charge there, Jared Goff. He started off a little rough in his time in Detroit, but he's really bounced back and gone to his 2018 form. Which honestly, if we all remember the Rams in 2018, that was a fun team. This offensively and what's, and Jared Goff has finally got back to that. And I think that's testament just to not only the work that he has done, but the work the Lions coaching staff has done with not just him, but all the other players to get them to this point that now they are actually a respectable franchise. And then defensively, of course, we all know last year's second overall pick, Aiden Hutchinson, had a spectacular year last year. Of course, obviously, will continue to do that, I expect, this year. And overall, I just think it's a very good defense for the most part. It's not the most talented. I think they're going to win games more offensively than defensively. But it has some definite playmakers there as well. Of course, adding Kim's son to the secondary should help very much. Of course, you all know as well. They drafted And of course, I'm now forgetting that Brian Branch. There it is. I forgot his name for a second. Brian Branch, yeah. The safety out of Alabama. Very high hopes on for him, of course, obviously. Help out Jack Campbell, the middle linebacker from Iowa as well, drafted in the first round this year as well. Looking to make a big impact. But of course, the main player we're all looking at here and wanting on offense wise is Jamil Gibbs, the running back out of Alabama, who was drafted at 12, shocking a lot of people, including myself. But clearly, Detroit thinks there's something special in this guy. And according to reports from what training camp, from what people have seen and what I've heard from there, it sounds very interesting that this guy could be a very special guy. A lot of people comparing him to Alvin Kamara. And I'm excited to see how it works. It seems like they're using him both for the passing game and the rushing game. And it's going to be very interesting to see how that does play out. And, of course, tomorrow night we're going to get our first taste of see what exactly this Lions team is. But a lot of hope on that front. But looking at this game right now here on both sides, it's going to be interesting how it plays out, especially defensively for KC, as Frank Clark, of course, most likely will not play due to the massive contract disputes he has been having with the team as of right now. So definitely a weaker KC defense as well, pass rush wise. So definitely a lot of advantage to the Lions just due to injury and unavailability for the Chiefs. But I would not count the Chiefs out because it is Patrick Mahomes, and it's not usually the best. This isn't to bet against Patrick Mahomes here. So I'm not going to count the Chiefs out, but where I said right now, honestly, just looking at this game here, with, of course, Kelce being very questionable, we'll see if he shows up or not. I feel like he's going to be out because I feel like you're not going to want to rush him in for just the one game. It's a 17 game season, 18 weeks. You know, you're not going to risk it in week one, especially if someone like Kelce. You're not going to risk an injury like that to this point here. So I do expect him not to play, and I expect it to be a very close offensive matchup between the Detroit Lions and Chiefs. But I think looking at it right now, honestly, I'm going to take the underdog here. Give me the Detroit Lions here. I think, honestly, like I know it's the Chiefs, but I think the Lions here, they've been looking to make a statement ever since this got announced back in April. They've been looking to make a statement to the NFL, and I think they're going to make a big statement right here. I think that's just how it's going to go. It just feels to me like the Lions here, with all the circumstances on the Chiefs side playing out, I think the Lions are going to be able to have the ability to make a big announcement to the rest of the NFL saying, yeah, we're not bad anymore, we're a good team. And I think that is what they're going to do here as well. I think it'll be an insanely close game, so don't expect it to be a blowout or anything. I expect this to be a one-score game, honestly, to this point. Like, I think Mahomes will do spectacular still. Even without Kelce, he's got some great offensive weapons at wide receiver. However, I also do believe losing Kelce is going to definitely affect them as well. Offensive game planning, as Kelce, of course, is the main target in that offense. But yeah, I do think right now Detroit will win the game, but it'll be insanely close as well. But now moving in here to the new big NFL news we just got recently, and that is Nick Bosa actually did sign the contract extension, so he will be staying put with the 49ers for 5 more years here. I think it was a $175 million contract, $125 million guaranteed, and it also does mean he will be playing on Sunday. So, as a Steelers fan, I'm not the most happy about it because I was kind of hoping we wouldn't get the deal with him because it was even kind of nice, but honestly, we'll see what happens, and now it doesn't give the 49ers fans excuses if we beat them. So, if you guys lose, you guys don't have any excuses, pretty much. I'm just going to be honest with you. But honestly, here, this definitely is very good for the 49ers. You don't get guys like Nick Bosa that often. So when you have the chance to not only draft a guy like him, but then be able to keep him long-term on a contract, it's something you obviously have to do. And I think everyone knew that the 49ers would have to do this just because, you can't afford to lose a guy like him. You just really can't, especially if you're trying to win a Super Bowl like the 49ers have been for the last couple of years, of course, coming up short in Super Bowl 54. And then, of course, last year in the AFC Championship to the Eagles. Of course, they're looking to, right the ship and get back there. And honestly, I think if you're going to do that, you got to keep Nick Bosa able to do it. The only thing I will say that does concern me, and I agree, the price that they paid for him is fair for his talent. But the problem is they're paying an insane amount of money to other players as well. And these deals here, of course, obviously will kick in at some point soon. So you have to ask the question, what happens with the cap space next year when this contract obviously takes effect. If all the other ones, how are the 49ers going to be able to pay for this and continue to be a good team here? And I think they're going to have a very big logjam of contracts when this, of course, hits the books next year. So I think, honestly, 49ers, this is the year you have to do something. Like, I'm not saying the window's closing here yet, but I think this year is the last prime spot of that window before it starts to close. As, of course, right now, the quarterback situation there in San Fran is still a very big question. I know they named Brock Purdy the starter, but here's the thing about Purdy. He only played from week 13 on and then got hurt in the NFC Championship game. And honestly, he plays in a very easy system. Like, I'm not convinced that Brock Purdy is really their guy just yet. Do I like Brock Purdy and do I like what he's done so far? Yes, I've liked what he's done so far, but I'm not going to say he's an insanely good quarterback. Now, do you think out of course, the draft class that was last year, is he one of the better quarterbacks in that draft class? Yeah, because that draft class, quarterback-wise, was pretty much just Kenny Pickett, and that was it. Like, man, Kenny Pickett's good, but, it's not a good draft class when there's only one quarterback that is actually good. That's not a good draft class. Like, if you want a good NFL, quarterback draft class, you want to have one that has at least 3 good NFL quarterbacks. If it's less than 3, then it's just not a good class. And obviously last year was nothing close to a good class quarterback-wise, as we all know. But definitely a lot of questions there. I know Brock Purdy has had a lot of struggles in the preseason, especially in practices with interceptions. And that is going to be the make or break for Brock Purdy, who I feel like is, especially in this upcoming game against the Steelers, knowing the Steelers pass rush, that is TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, and of course Larry Ogunjobi, and they have new faces too, and Nick Herbig, Marcus Golden. This is a whole bunch of guys there. That this is a defense that's gonna be tough on him, and there's also questions on the offensive line too. Not at the left tackle spot, which of course we all know is Trent Williams, but definitely there are questions there on the front of, because I think he'll be able to lock down Highsmith, but the problem is TJ Watt's the right tackle, and they have a 5th rounder at that spot right now. So definitely, I think Brock Purdy, he makes or breaks the 49ers this year. Now, I will say for Nick Bosa, this is great for 49ers fans. This is great to get to keep Nick Bosa. He's the big part of your team. I think he is the face of the franchise, though. I really do think that this is great to get to keep him. The thing I will say, obviously, here is caution when it comes to the salary cap, as, next year, a lot of the big contracts take effect. And right now, I don't know if you really have the quarterback to get the Super Bowl, because Purdy, he's shown a lot of good things, but he has not shown enough to make me think, yeah, this is a guy who can win you a Super Bowl at this point. Now, I could obviously be wrong, and he does actually do that for you, but it's something you have to wait, and you have to see what happens before you can obviously say what is really going to happen here on that front, in my mind. But, yeah, definitely, of course, that was the big news here that broke today, and, yeah, a whole bunch of stuff here, but let's look here. So, definitely, of course, let's move a little baseball here. Pretty much season is wrapping up here. The AL West. That is the one thing I want to talk about right now. And no, Pirates fans, I'm not talking about McCutcheon being out for the year. It's just too painful. I'm not going to talk about it. All I'm going to say is the Pirates really do. That made me very happy that the Steelers play Sunday, because it's been rough. But yeah, let's talk a little about the AL West here. With this whole division showdown, of course, the Texas Rangers, as we know, were in control of that division here very well for most of the year. But now it has kind of fallen off. They've had a lot of struggles. And teams have caught up, and those teams obviously are the Seattle Mariners and, of course, the Houston Astros. Both have caught up. I know as of right now, Houston is in the 1 spot, but it is flip-flop pretty much between all 3 teams, as one day Texas has it, then Seattle, and then Houston. It just keeps flip-flopping. So right now it's very interesting how it plays out. And I don't think all 3 teams will make the playoffs too, honestly. So I think at least 2 of them will make the playoffs. But this is very interesting here. So let's just pull up the standings right now just so I have it. So we can take a look here. But so I want to see what kind of schedule they got too here. But pretty much right now, the Rangers are in 3rd place, 2 games behind the Astros, and the Mariners are 1 game back. And this right now is pretty much anyone can win in this division here at this point for the most part out of those three. Of course, I would now Angels and Athletics both out of it. And we'll talk about the Angels at some point soon here on that whole disaster. But I might just want to focus, of course, on the big three here. But this is a very interesting spot for all these teams to be in. Um, as of right now, what I think is going to happen here is I like the Astros a lot, but I think right now, just looking here pretty much, let's just see their schedule here. So they pretty much here. They have the Rangers, and they've been doing well against the Rangers. So definitely, they have a very easy schedule with Padres, Athletics, Royals, and Casey again, and then the Mariners, Diamondbacks. So they have a pretty solid schedule, I think, for the most part. So let's see Seattle here too. And Seattle has a little tough of a schedule. So honestly, in my mind here, the way I see this, I think Houston does win this. I think they've got a lot better since the break. They're finally healthy again. I do think they win this division, but it is going to be a very close affair with the Seattle Mariners. As I'm going to be honest with you, when I look at the Texas Rangers, I think fool's gold. That's because they always show this great skill in the regular season and they can fall off right at the end and miss the playoffs. And I kind of got a feeling that this could be the scenario again here, this year, like other years as well. Now, do I know if they're going to, of course, get far? Honestly, I could see the Rangers get in the playoffs. I think all three, technically, can get in the playoffs, I think. It's going to be tough for all three to get in, obviously, as looking at the wild card right now, Texas is out of it, but just by a half game. And that whole wild card is very cutthroat right now. But in my mind, the way I see it is, Houston will take the division. I think Seattle will make the playoffs. And I think Texas is going to be just looking out the window, probably a game or 2 games behind the last wild card spot. In my mind, Texas has a rough schedule toward the end of the year here. So definitely, I think it's been very interesting to watch as this has been very back and forth. But yeah, definitely, that is the big MLB thing we're going to talk about here. For the most part, other than the Angels here, of course, buying a whole bunch of stuff at the trade deadline, in Lucas Giolito and a couple of the other guys. And of course, and that was on August 1st. It's only been like a month, and they're all gone on waivers. So yeah. And then the Angels, they got to deal with Shohei. I think he's definitely gone. So say bye to Shohei, Anaheim, because he ain't coming back. Mike Trout, honestly, Spy asked to get a new team as well. Like, honestly, the Angels are really done. Of course, now, the other thing, too, that's going on is Anthony Rendon, the big face and target they had a couple years ago. Of course, all-star third baseman for the Nationals on the 2019 World Series team. A big part of that is now telling reporters no habla en inglés, and is now walking around in a hoodie and refusing to do anything in the clubhouse. So, yeah, it's a fun time in Anaheim, and I would just say it right now, they're done. They are legitimately done. I think they've been done for a couple years now, and should just trade off last year. And they should trade off this deadline because they're not winning anything anytime soon. So if you're an Angels fan, get ready to go back in the basement because you're going to be there a while, and it's a horror disaster. And honestly, I'm not going to talk that much about it because if I want to talk that much about it, it'd have to be a completely separate video or episode, just solely related on them, just because how awful things have been there so far right now at this point. So I'm not going to get into a diatribe as I want to get some other stuff here before we end the show here. But yeah, definitely, if you're Anaheim, and I may make a video later about these guys, but it's a complete disaster there. And clearly, they should have sold at the deadline and traded Ohtani, and clearly did. And now, of course, Ohtani as well is hurt, and now it's not pitching; he's only hitting. So, like, the Angels may have actually killed the fun out of Shohei Ohtani. So, yeah. But that's where I'm going to leave that at. And honestly, just MLB in general, I think everything for the most part is pretty much the same as it has been the last couple weeks. It's just kind of like following a straight line. Other than that, the whole AL West thing. And I'm not talking about Wander Franco either. This is a family-friendly show, so we're not going to talk about him because he's not family-friendly. We'll say that much. Yeah. But let's go down here. I'm going to go through all the NFL games for this week here. So let's break it down here and see what happens. Of course, tomorrow night, Lions-Chiefs, already broke that down. I'm going to say Chiefs are going to lose to the Lions But honestly, I think it's going to be like a field goal. I feel like it's going to be something like 38-35 Lions, and it's going to be like a field goal at the end. I think that's what you're going to see here, honestly. It'll be a close game to that point for the most part. Now, starting and turning over here to Sunday here, all the NFL games. First up here, Panthers, Falcons, a NFC South showdown. Of course, also as well, the fourth start for Carolina's new face of the franchise, the first overall pick, Bryce Young, against, of course, Desmond Riddle, finally starting for the Falcons. And, of course, the Falcons as well starting who they hope to be the new face of the franchise in the seventh overall pick, running back B. John Robinson. This is a very interesting matchup, and honestly, I think in this game here, I'm going to say the Falcons win. I think the Falcons have a more experienced team and a more talented team than the Panthers, and of course, the Panthers as well. Starting a rookie quarterback, it's not going to be easier for us. Trust me, I had to watch Kenny Pickett last year for the Steelers. It takes time for them to get good, and I think Bryce Young was definitely a guy who will take time before he gets good. If he does get good, I think he'll get good, but not great. But I think he'll need some time to, of course, adjust to the NFL game. So I'm going to say Falcons will beat the Panthers, and I'm going to say it's by like 10 points. So I'm going to say, because I think it'll be kind of low scoring. So give me 24-14. I think that's going to be the score of that game there. Next up here we have the Texans and Ravens. This is easy. Ravens are winning that game. I don't think the Ravens are insanely good or anything like past years, but I do think they will be better on offense. I think the addition of OBJ and drafting Zay Flowers in the first round will help them immensely, especially for Lamar Jackson, and facing off against a pretty weak Texans defense that has a lot of young pieces and just has not played yet, and also facing CJ Stroud, who did not look good in the preseason, of course, the second overall pick in this year's draft. I think it's an easy win for Baltimore, and I expect it to be a complete blowout of a game. But moving on here next, another AFC North showdown here. Bengals Browns. Interesting game. I think it'll be a fun one. I think it will be somewhat close, but give me Bengals here on the win. I think Joe Burrow will be back for that game, so I think the Bengals are definitely the better team here. But I think the Browns will keep in it for the most part until the fourth quarter. So I feel Deshaun will do fine up in the first three quarters and completely fall apart in the fourth. It's just something about that game that makes you think that's going to happen, and I'm going to say that's what's going to happen. So give me Bengals on that one now. But next up here we have the Jacksonville Jaguars with Trevor Lawrence. Of course, now finally them getting to the playoffs, getting to the divisional round. They're looking for more and looking for another AFC South title as they face Anthony Richardson, the fourth overall pick in the draft, and the Colts without Jonathan Taylor. The whole Jonathan Taylor thing as well. Another thing I can make a completely different video about and just talk about. But he will not be playing, obviously. And I think this is an easy win for the Jaguars. Anthony Richardson is just not that good. I think he is a project quarterback at best. And I just do not think that he can do anything, especially Jacksonville does not have a spectacular defense, but it has a good enough one that it'll shut him down completely. So give me Jacksonville on that one. Next up here we have the Buccaneers and Vikings. Give me the Vikings on this one here. I think the Buccaneers are not as bad as the team as everyone thinks, and I think Baker Mayfield will do perfectly fine. I'm not worried about that whole production there of Godwin and Evans with Baker. Baker is a good enough quarterback. He'll win the games. Don't worry about it. As long as you don't, put him in a position to fail, he will do well. Do not worry about it here. But I think the Vikings is just a better team. I think they have a better defense. Now, the defense isn't insanely good. It's a lot more of younger guys rather than the old guard. Of course, they lost in cornerbacks, the whole situation now. Of course, losing Patrick Peterson in the offseason. So a lot of questions there. However, I just think offensively the Vikings are just too good. Kirk Cousins, it's a day game, so he'll be great. Justin Jefferson is, Jay Jettis himself. He'll be grittying on them probably all day. And I think Jordan Addison. Now, this is the fun part to watch here, because I'm excited to see him. Of course, as we all know, award-winning wide receiver in college. He's coming to the NFL now. I think it was a great pick for the Vikings when they made it. It made a lot of sense to me. It replaces Adam Thielen, and I think it's going to be a fun time here to watch. So give me the Vikings over the Buccaneers here to that point here. And next up here, we got the Titans and Saints. This will be an interesting game, but I'm going to go with the Saints. I think the Saints overall are a better team defensively and offensively. I think Derek Carr into that New Orleans offense will give it some new life. Now, I'm going to say this is going to be a top 5 offense in the league. No, but I think it would definitely get New Orleans back on the track that it got off of when Drew Brees retired. So give me the Saints in that one here. Cardinals Commandos. Yeah, that's the first tank bowl, pretty much. Give me the Commandos because they actually have an identity right now, and they actually have a starter. Because the Cardinals have pretty much not even announced a starter. Like, we know it's going to be Josh Dobbs as it got leaked out earlier today. But they want naming one as to give them a tactical advantage. Yeah, it's a whole disaster in Arizona. Of course, they traded a lot of guys, especially some younger guys, too, which is ridiculous. They're clearly taking for Caleb Williams here, in my mind. And I think this is an easy win for the Commandos. So if you're playing fantasy, pick up the Commandos defense because the Cardinals offense is going to be, other than James Conner, it's going to be a disaster. Like, I think James Conner will make it at least somewhat reasonable for the Cardinals offensively, but it's a whole disaster there. But next up here, we got the Packers and the Bears. And this one here, this is interesting, honestly. But I think I'm going to go for the Packers here. I know the Bears are probably the better team, but I think the Packers defense can shut down Justin Fields well enough that even a fledgling Packers offense with now Jordan Love at helm, not Aaron Rodgers, can still get him a victory here at this point. I've heard good things about Christian Watson and Jordan Love. If they're laced up together, we'll see how it plays out. But to this point, it seems as if it is definitely looking to be a very interesting spot to be in, and I'm going to take the Packers on that one. Next up here, Raiders and Broncos. Both not very good teams. Hell, I think the Raiders are the better team. So I'm going to take the Raiders in this one here. I think definitely offensively, the Raiders, they got Josh Jacobs back. I think they're fine. I think they can definitely take on the Broncos here, as the Broncos really have not changed anything and still got injuries from last year. But next up here, the Dolphins Chargers. This is going to be a fun game, but I'm going to go with the Dolphins here. I think the Dolphins just overall have a better roster. I think offensively, the Dolphins have more weapons. Even though they don't have the better QB, they have the better weapons, and I think that will take them through to this matchup here. So give me Miami on that one. Now, of course, we got the defending NFC Championship Eagles against the Patriots on a Super Bowl 52 rematch. And I'm going to go with the Eagles on this one. I think the Patriots aren't as bad as people think. I will say that. But there's no way they are stopping the Eagles' offense. It's still as good as it was last year, if not better, honestly. I think adding DeAndre Swift will help immensely in that spot here. I think overall the Eagles has to have a better offense. Defensively, that's where the Eagles will be tested the most. With new guys like Jalen Carter, Nakobe Dean now finally will be playing, Nolan Smith as well. So a lot of questions on that front, but I think honestly it's a very good defense, and I'm not worried whatsoever in it. Honestly, I kind of think it's a better defense than last year's. I know it's a little early to say that for the young guys, but I just think it's a better defense, and I'm excited to see how it does play out. But of course, we got Rams Seahawks. That's easy. Seahawks gonna win. Rams are not that good. Cooper Kupp's gonna be out most likely, and Matt Stafford's just not that good of a quarterback, honestly anymore. He probably needs to retire by this point here. So I'm gonna take the Seahawks on that one, and Cowboys Giants. That's gonna be interesting, but I think I'm gonna take the Cowboys on that one. I think they're the better team, but it'll be a close one-score game as both have very elite offenses. And then the last Sunday game I'm going to talk about here, Steelers 49ers. I'm going to still roll with the Steelers, like I said in previous weeks. I know Nick Bosa's back, but I just think Brock Purdy is going to struggle heavily against a tough Steelers defense. And I'm not going to say Pickett's going to thrive this week. I think out of this week, Pickett will probably have his roughest week of the year, just due to the fact of what the defense is. So I just think Brock Purdy, just the way he looked in training camp, did not look good at all, and it looks like an easy feast day for that Steelers defense there. But it will be a close one-score game. I'm going to say 24-21 Steelers. And I think they take the win here and start 1-0. So all the Steelers fans out there, I know I have like 4,000 of you due to my pump-up video. So, yeah, I think they will win, and Steelers going to the Super Bowl. Nah, I'm kidding on that one. Well, I'm going to wait and see before I say that. But, yeah. Bills Jets here. That's the Monday night game, the final one here, and the debut of Aaron Rodgers for the Jets here. And I'm going to go Buffalo on this one. I think it'll be a very close game. I really like the Jets offensively, but they're going to need some time to get used to Aaron Rodgers on the center and get everything out of the way here. the Bills more experienced team. The defense is a little weaker than previous years, and I think this is kind of the end of the window for them. So this is a make or break year for them. But I think they will do well and win this in a close game. I'm going to say here, honestly, 38-35. I think that's a good assumption for what score the game will be. But if you guys enjoyed this episode, please comment, like, and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. If you're listening in on Apple Podcasts or any of the other podcast sources I'm on, thank you guys for listening in and hope to see you guys soon. Have a good one.